Good morning, hey, good afternoon, yo, good evening. Welcome back to the Liberal Artist Podcast. I am your host, Bodhi Papula. With me I have Kaylee Horowitz.
Hello, hello.
And Andy Gibby Gibson.
Oh.
And after 1,000 years, I have returned. The homeless saga is over. I have a roof that is mine, that I pay for with adults' monies.
He lives.
You have a new location to complain about. Hooray!
I do, yeah. I've traded shirtless old men in the middle of Florida for shirtless old men in the middle of California.
Which one's better, or are they both just as bad?
They're both their own unique spark of absolutely awful.
Brilliant.
So wait, like, we're not even getting like the benefit of like shirtless young men at like Muscle Beach or anything?
No, I live very far from Muscle Beach.
Come
No,
on.
Where
Where do you live near? Like, other than like Hollywood?
That's where I live. I live in Hollywood.
The star is finally born.
He's made it to the big time.
Yeah, sure, whatever. I work a corporate job in Hollywood.
Look at our boy. His name's in lights.
My name's in lights because I bought LEDs for my bedroom to make myself feel better.
Gotta put in those sweet gamer LEDs, baby.
Right. No. It's hard to sleep now.
Oh, no.
I can only imagine it's also hard to sleep because you're in like within a mile of a million other people too.
I mean, a mile is generous. It's more like 40 feet.
You like walk into your kitchen and somebody's just like, "Come on, man, I saw that spot.
Right.
It was
and there's just a
mine."
dude in there, car parked right in the middle of the living room because he found a free spot. No.
I mean, can you blame him?
Nah, it's free parking, baby.
Yeah.
LA is very wide. It's weird.
Wide.
Yeah, like Putin. But yeah, now I've lived in New York and now I'm living in LA. It's a very different vibe.
It's very tall. And if it can't be tall, it just keeps going underground somehow. And you don't quite know how it's structurally sound to do so. But it keeps
And you
going.
can't do that in LA because it would kill you via earthquake.
Yeah, no.
Well, that's the crazy thing, right? Because I was talking to people about earthquakes and stuff. Because the part of the country where I grew up, the ground is stable and the ground moving is terrifying to me. But they were like, yeah, the buildings are built on wheels. And I was like, what? Excuse me?
See, when you say that, the first image I have in mind are those little like little go-kart things you'd get in like gym class for some reason.
Do you mean the best day?
That you would like try to go-kart derby each other with?
Yes.
That's what I imagine the foundation of like those skyscrapers in LA being built on.
The buildings are built to wiggle like fucking slinkies, which is a marvel of engineering, but I don't want to go places anymore. Because they told me earthquakes are going to happen. They haven't happened yet, but I know they're coming. And I'm just like, but what if the buildings start shaking?
Do you want to come with me and my friends to this other slinky building? I know you already live in a slinky building, but we could go to this other slinky building and it would be just as slinky if an earthquake hit.
And I'm just like, I just want stable ground, please.
Look, man, you moved from hurricane season to earthquake season, except earthquake season can be at literally any time possible.
Exactly. We know when the hurricanes are coming.
Well,
right?
Okay, to be fair, and to continue our trend apparently of dunking on Florida in the beginning of every episode
Florida.
of this podcast, but I've always grown up with the fear of sinkholes. Because that is the sort of earthquake equivalent of Florida. You don't know when they will happen. You can guess based on like, hey, there's been construction in this area, or like there have been certain groups like out researching and looking into areas that are like softer sediment or near larger aquifers that run the risk of crumbling underneath and then collapsing entirely and turning into sinkholes. Like, but it is still they could just happen, like down the street from where my little brother used to do taekwondo. Like it was one of those, like, this is where we go. Like after school, we drop him off and then pick him up after a couple hours. Yeah. and at some point it was just, massive sinkhole opened up in the Publix parking lot across the street. And it was there for months.
They just did Taekwondo too hard. Same joke. Same joke.
But like, I've just had that fear of like, I am standing on aquifers, and at any moment the ground could disappear.
God finally gets that return he's been owed on Florida for a while, where he's just like, yoink.
Yoink.
I'm currently in Michigan, and I'm trying to think of our natural dangers.
Militias.
Well, yeah, there's that. You do have a few of those. Like, it does make me laugh that, like, somebody wanted to kidnap the governor to go to Applebee's. Like, does the governor at least get to come to the Applebee's once it reopens?
Are there drink specials at the Applebee's when you're taking him? Like, is there any particular reason to go?
Two can dine for $19.99. In this economy, to get an appetizer and a dessert that was made in a microwave? Like, you can't miss out on that. Nah.
This episode of the Liberal Artist Podcast brought to you by Applebee's.
It better fucking be not. I got beef with Applebee's.
Applebee's.
I didn't know
Gibby's coming after you.
Yeah, I didn't know you had
I'm coming for you, Applebee's.
I
have you know why I have strong feelings about Applebee's?
They tried to kidnap your governor?
Well, there's that, yes. It was an Applebee's sponsored militia.
Oh.
Yikes.
No. Years ago, when I was living up here, I lived near one of the number one foodie towns in America.
Hard flex.
Because it was 5 minutes closer to go to Buffalo Wild Wings instead of all the 5-star restaurants around town. We ended up there most of the time because a guy I worked at camp with was like, ooh, that. Then one day, a friend had a birthday, and we were trying to decide where to go. And I was just like, come on, man, let's go to the good place. Let's go to the good place. Let's go to one of the 20 good places here. Bo can justify it's true. He's been here. He knows.
They got some good food up there. It's not a lie.
And we decided, because of my sweet, sweet friend who wanted everybody to have something they liked, to go to the godforsaken Applebee's, where I had a fucking microwaved pork sandwich, and it was fine. It was fine, but it's the fact that we could have had the holy grail of food instead of goddamned Applebee's.
I want to make sure everybody's on a level playing field when we go out to eat, so let's go somewhere where no one is happy.
No one's going to have a good time here.
Everybody is going to have food that is exactly 4.5 out of 10, and that's generous.
Got him.
Fight me, Applebee's. I'll fight the whole franchise at once. I'm gonna look like Aragorn with a sword against the armies of Mordor.
He is still going.
I would enjoy the Applebee's experience so much more if their drinks didn't feel so expensive for the amount of alcohol you get. I don't know.
Why are we still talking about Applebee's?
Because it's one of those things I'm like, I haven't thought about Applebee's in a very long time.
Yeah, I fucking wonder why,
dude. If we're not going to shit on Applebee's some more, what should we talk about then, Bo?
Let's talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Again.
Again! We're doing it again!
Gibby and Kaylee are trying to turn this into a Marvel fan cast. I'm trying to turn it into a JoJo's fan cast.
Yep, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle where, like, Captain America is just gonna have a bald eagle as a stand, and it'll be glorious.
Home of the brave!
Let freedom
Before we
ring!
completely transition into JoJo's, on that note...
Oh my god, Kaylee.
If you
talk
had...
about Applebee's again, I'm going to fucking end the episode right now.
If you... just thought of a different question that I will save for the end of the episode. No, if you had to pick any of the Marvel characters to be like this,
oh god,
secretly this person has actually been a JoJo all along sort of thing, who would it be and why?
Ant-Man, so that his stand could go up Thanos' butthole. And fulfill the prophecy.
Okay.
How about we talk about JoJo Part 3, Stardust Crusaders?
No, we're
fair.
done. The episode's over. Like,
Okay.
Credits. I'm going
So
home.
I can ask my other question that I was saving for the end then, right?
No, I'm done.
If you had to take a JoJo's character on a date to Applebee's, who would it be and why?
Oh my fucking
All right, now
God.
I'm gonna end the episode. I'm mad now. Okay.
Absolutely livid. I'm going back on my homeless adventure. It was better than this.
Bodio's bizarre adventure.
Can we talk about Part 3 now?
Yes, I'm only a little unhinged after having been back in Florida for 3 weeks. It's getting to me.
Like, a little, she says.
A little.
So JoJo's Part 3 is the big one, right? This is the one that
Yeah.
a lot of people talk about when you hear about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's usually these characters that you see in like pictures, memes, jokes, whatever.
Rhododora!
A lot of people say this is the best one, and they're wrong. Yeah, Kaylee, let's you were the one who experienced this fresh for the first time.
I was, and I realized one of Baby's first fandoms, when I was pioneering the wild fandomscapes of the internet, was Vocaloid. And one of the early songs that I remember hearing from Kagamin, Len, and Rin, twin voice banks, was
those are a lot of words that I'm not
called
familiar
called
with.
Road Roller. And I always thought that's weird that they've made these characters just sing about a road roller. Like it's these two like
Right.
running around like causing trouble, like taking names, kicking ass because they've got a big freaking road roller. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Years later, realize, oh my fucking God, it's a JoJo reference.
Everything
Is that a
is a
JoJo
reference.
From like 9 years
Editor
in the
Gibby,
past.
this is where you insert the Road Roller Gibby or Dio audio. Have fun.
How many times can we put the road roller audio in this episode?
Oh, I have a feeling we'll have lots of meme episodes. Yeah, we'll have lots.
Can we get a
of
road
those.
roller count every time we go? No.
The Road Roller count.
It is not a visual medium, Kaylee.
I know. I was that slap in the face of like 9 years ago, suddenly like hitting me full force of like, yeah, no, this is the one that has been around for a while. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is also the one that's been like adapted 2 other times previously before they went and made the whole complete series, correct?
Yeah, before David Productions got their hands on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and
The
like 2012.
OVAs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were OVAs. There was a spin-off where they made Jotaro's son, which is questionable at best.
I didn't even know about that shit.
Yeah,
Deep
Jotaro
cut
has
JoJo.
an uncanon son. Yup, it's uncool. He looks like a Sailor Moon character.
No!
But
Look how they massacred my boy.
this is the big one. This is where they go from parody kung fu manga to straight up psychic magic men standing behind buff dudes making poses.
Yeah.
And psychological battles and all kinds of body horror and shit like that.
Absolutely. Do we want to give a brief summary of plot for those unfamiliar?
And how do I want to say
Adventure
this?
Quest with literally all of the things that Bodio just said. Psychic, magical creature things coming from sexy, muscular men posing at one another, fighting to the death in the desert.
An unrelenting jerk goes on an adventure with a couple of nice guys and his douchebag granddad, his douchebag racist granddad.
I'll never.
And they beat up a bunch of Egyptian people, just kind of unrelentlessly, just to kill a gay vampire who doesn't die? Question mark.
To kill a gay vampire who was already going to end up probably taking over the world, but like
he was just chilling,
but stirred up enough shit that caused problems for
Here's the thing, no,
sulky tall boy's mom, and so they had to go stop this guy.
Dio was just in the desert talking philosophy with a black child and having sex on the side.
And you know,
Dio did nothing wrong. There I said
drinking
it.
the blood of innocence, perhaps, but
You have no proof.
Who among us is truly innocent, Kaylee?
I mean, no, you got me there.
Kaylee.
You're right. Like,
Look,
hashtag Dio did nothing wrong.
basically, Dio was just a wonderful and kind. Well, I can't even lie. No, that guy fucking sucks, and I can't let it go.
Remember, he kicked a dog. Our first
his
introduction to him,
body.
he kicked a dog.
Okay.
Yeah, but like this is Dio like 100 years later. He's stolen his brother's body. He's had kind of just like a whole character change. He's just chilling in a mansion he found in the middle of Cairo, Egypt.
And some dirtbag teenager just comes in like, fuck you, old man.
Who doesn't even respect his mom.
Teenage dirtbag baby. If there was ever a song for Jotaro Kujo, it would be Teenage Dirtbag.
Absolutely.
But seriously. Jotaro Kujo, who is the grandson of our last protagonist, Joseph Joestar,
who in his own right was already a little shit, and Jotaro is just a different side of being a little shit. Like, he's certainly not as extroverted.
Opens.
Yeah.
The show cold opens with him screaming at his mother, "Shut up, you bitch!"
From a like
Off
jail
the
cell.
jump.
Like,
while he's drinking beer and smoking cigarettes as a 16-year-old, 6'5" giant of a man.
God,
I get it. This takes place in the 80s.
Yeah,
I know, but
you are not a good person, right?
And his mom's just like, "That's okay, son. You're doing great." And
right.
of course,
and his fucking deadbeat jazz musician dad who just doesn't exist.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It just makes me laugh that like the character choice that Araki made when writing this arc was to have Joseph, the JoJo of part 2, come back and be the mentor figure.
Yeah.
And for him, who was, prior little shit,
he was the cocky hotshot.
To then have to babysit an even cockier little shit. But Jotaro is so different in that the original character inspiration for him is Clint Eastwood, where he's like the much more negative,
well-known good person, Clint Eastwood.
well, the stone cold badass archetype of like him in westerns, like his spaghetti westerns and everything. That's what
Clint
he was
Eastwood
going
with
for.
the combination of like the Japanese tough guy, Yakuza styles, New Age samurai.
Well,
dude.
and thinking about our conversation from a couple episodes ago, if you didn't check it out, on Akira, sort of looking at this trope of the inspiration for, I think, a lot of creators, mangaka at the time, of the sort of like counterculture of the 80s in Japan, and sort of exactly the like biker gangs, the like teen gangs, sort of tough leather, and sort of
the well-known
like, critical
6'5" Japanese population.
Maybe aside from just like Jotaro's stature, but like that like character type and that trope is, I think, a very now like iconic piece of like how
absolutely
like we understand like like not the entire picture, but like a side of 80s Japan, especially through the eyes of younger characters and younger people at the time.
Fist of the North Star is like a big example of, we're still in this part of, if you look up JoJo's art, there's kind of like 2 generations or 2 different styles that Araki did, and this is very much so still the first style. I'm drawing dudes to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger,
big muscles,
giant stature,
the
huge
boys.
muscled men, right? But can turn 360 degrees at the waist, because why not?
Right.
The waist is the only dainty part of them.
Exactly. My man is flexible.
Man. It's funny to think that like the JoJo that's the least extroverted and like the least excitable, the one who's always just like, good grief, is also the one I don't know if it's because he's the most well-known, but I would say overall might be the most popular JoJo.
100% is the most popular.
What do you think attracts people to a complete 180 in character from Joseph to Jotaro, and then even like compared to all the rest of them down the line who are much more like positive?
What do you think, Haley?
The hat.
Where does the hat start?
Where does the hat stop and the hair begin? It's such an intriguing mystery. I can't help but keep looking at him.
What is hat and what is hair?
God, it bothered me so much. It bothered me so much.
I bought our friend one of those hats, and I still don't even know. I've seen him in pictures, and even in real life, in fucking cosplay, I can't tell where the hat stops.
Well, like, I love all the explanations that are like, oh, it's supposed to be that, like, the back of the hat is, like, just shot out because of him fighting, and so it's supposed to look torn up, and it just blends in, like, because it's a black hat.
How does it
his
stay
hair.
on?
But, yeah, I'm like, what?
This hat doesn't have a back. It shouldn't stay.
Hey, Jotaro Kujo wears a tiara. You ever thought of that shit?
Oh,
no, I was about to say,
good.
it's like a fucking bingo visor or a tiara at best.
Yeah.
Now I'm just thinking about his English dub actor, Matt Mercer, Mr. D&D, just being like, I'm the prettiest of the princesses. And then punching somebody in the face.
I'm gonna be the prettiest girl at the party.
Well, if we don't have a ton of like outward energy other than him screaming at girls for them finding him cute, I guess we have to get energy from other people. And Kaylee, I want to know your feelings about the Joe Bros.
Well, and I guess to actually answer the first question, I think that's dead on. Is like there is such a thing for the, like, exactly, cool, strong, like, witty. Like, Jotaro is very capable. Like, we know that Joseph, like, is good at getting himself out of, like, situations. Jotaro is so much more, like, precise about it, whereas Joseph really is flying by the seat of his pants more often than not.
Yeah, like, Jotaro is Superman.
Yes.
Like, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
I also think there's some credence to Jotaro maybe isn't, but definitely passes as Araki, the author's favorite JoJo.
Yeah.
Because he comes back for every part until it doesn't make sense for him to be around. Right. Jotaro is around in some shape, form, or fashion.
He just comes back in the part 7 that takes place in the 1880s.
Yeah, he just keeps coming back.
Araki just like drawing him in. That's my boy.
It's my son.
But no, and so exactly, like, and that's the thing that I've seen from, oh gosh, correct me if I'm wrong, but this one, and I mean, obviously there had been iterations of this character before happening, like, prior to the David production, but this arc premiered in the 2015? 2016?
A little earlier, maybe
a little earlier, because there's a correlation, I think, of there's a lot of, like, when I think of the way that fandom latches on to characters in anime, you'll always have a strong group of fangirls going for a strong, broody kind of character type that Jotaro checks a lot of boxes for in that way.
Absolutely.
He has no interest in me, and that's why I'm interested.
Right, no, and exactly. So there's people like that. I am much more of a sucker for the weird side characters. Like, I think I like Jotaro well enough. I wish that, like, the writing between him and his mom was not the way it is, because that's the only part of him where I'm like, okay, what the fuck, dude? Why? But everything else, I'm like, I'm okay with this. I am much more of a sucker for the weird, quirky ensemble cast that surrounds the main character, though.
So, let's talk about the Joe Bros.
The band of brothers.
Yeah, the old protagonist, Joseph, shows up. This time, he's in his 50s.
Old man Joseph.
Old man Joseph still running around getting into goofs.
And oh no, he's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, being the only character who's allowed to fight the women because he's an old man. And we can't have teenagers beating up women. That's uncool.
I mean, there's some awareness
yeah,
there.
you never put that together, did you?
There's some awareness in that regard, I guess. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, no. Old man Joseph is the only one who fights the female stand users.
I mean, I guess, like, ethically, it's still probably not better, but if they're going by like a tier list of power ranking or something,
it's WWE rules. The women can hit the men, but the men can't hit the women back unless they're 50. Apparently, senior citizens get a pass.
Are you telling me the Undertaker is just gonna take on like Alexa Bliss?
The Undertaker's gonna choke slam Ronda Rousey in the middle of a match, and I'm going to love every second of it.
What a matchup!
Solid. Ronda has an extremely diverse history of MMA, but the Undertaker is an undead wizard, so I'd say that's
he's an undead wizard, dude.
Even.
You can't kill him. But so we have Old Man Joseph.
Yeah.
We have Mohammed Avdol.
I love Abdul.
Yes, I am.
The Egyptian psychic question mark. We have
with a chicken.
Jean-Pierre Polnareff.
Jean-Pierre Polnareff.
My
the sweetest
boy.
of boys.
The man with the tallest hair in all of France.
Honestly.
Mm-hmm. And we have we also have Kakyoin.
The sexiest
sweet baby boy
of the crew. It's kind of like looking at a boy band where it's just like, who's the sexy one?
Everyone's
who's
got
the
their
smart
type.
One? Who's the bad boy? And also a dog.
And Iggy.
And also a dog.
And Iggy.
Iggy shows up. Iggy shows up about halfway through.
Jesus Christ, Iggy.
And well, not even halfway through, like three-quarters of the way through, and immediately dies.
Spoilers.
The dog. They kill the dog. They kill the dog.
does
Get
not
over
like dogs.
Rocky does not like dogs.
Yeah.
My one issue with him as an author.
Iggy is the second canonical dog in the show, and he is the second canonical dog to die. Spoilers, the third dog doesn't have a chance either.
Never stood a chance.
Yeah.
No.
Like the only people that have like a shorter shelf life in JoJo than JoJo's friends are his dog friends.
Oh.
But they're not the only ones, because for every member of the group, there's also a stand. And Bo, what is a stand?
Tsukai.
That's next.
I know
part,
that's
Kaylee.
next one, but it's a good meme.
So, like we said earlier, this is the transition piece, right? All the good guys and bad guys manifest their power, as opposed to breathing good like they used to.
You don't have to
Now
breathe good
they
anymore, kids.
You no longer have to breathe.
Just hold your breath. See what happens.
They have these abilities called stands, which we could talk about in more detail. There are rules to stands, and none of them are consistent. Just know that everybody has a stand. Their stands fight for them. They manifest some kind of ability, whether it be to punch real good, to I'm a gun, to now I step on your shadow, you can't exist. I'm a literal genie. I can stop time. Let's play video games together. By the way, if you die in the game, you die for real.
Sword Art Online, The Stand.
Right. The stands are the wild card of JoJo's, and they're actually one of the things that make it unique among anime.
You are absolutely correct.
Which is weird because it feels like such a generic sounding like anime object. Like, oh, we have these magic monsters that fight each other for us kind of thing is a very like anime cliche. But like really and truly, the conception of the stand and how each one's unique abilities can or can't counter somebody else's stand is really exciting in that way. And the way that they are created and manifested based on, or no, what is it? Isn't in Araki's approach, he does the stand, he draws the stand first, and then the user to be compatible
and then decides
with the
what
stand.
it can do.
Yeah.
And they're also the world's biggest trial in copyright law. because most, if not all of them, are named after Araki's favorite bands and music. And then when those suckers get dubbed,
Araki is a menace
issue.
to the music industry, and I absolutely love it.
He is phenomenal. The funny thing is that most of the group of the main cast of protagonists is pretty safe because this particular arc and adventure is it takes a lot of inspiration from tarot cards.
Yes.
And for the design and for the style and everything. So most of them, such as Jojo'S Star Platinum, Avdol's Magician's Red, Silver Chariot, or The Fool, those sorts of things. Hermit Purple, those aren't copyright because who owns tarot, really?
Until Araki is like, but what if Vanilla Ice?
I was about to say Vanilla Ice.
Jay Guile, Rubber Soul, fucking Devo, Steely Dan, Kenny G, Cameo, fucking Kenny
Oingo
G.
Boingo.
Yeah.
Oingo
Oingo
Boingo.
Boingo.
Even the world, Dio's stand is directly based on some art from Holy Diver by Ronnie James Dio.
Holy Diver.
Yeah, like
Zawada!
everything explodes from here when it comes to the when it comes to names and references. I remember we quizzed Kaylee on some of the first and second seasons. I'm not even going to bother because there's no fucking way you could get them all starting from here.
There's fucking so many dudes. All right.
No, and I was gonna say there are people that like train and like build up their JoJo like trivia repertoire. I have not gone through that training.
Yeah.
Nobody can blame you.
That's the other kind of transition in storytelling part 3 takes. And Kaylee, I want to get your opinion on how you thought of it, because we go from a continuous kind of bottled story to villain of the week style.
Yeah.
Let's fight 800 dudes before we get to the last dude, right?
We've got 800 dudes to fight, and we're gonna kick each of their asses individually once a week.
One at a time, dude.
Monster of the week. Weird Japanese copyright lawsuit man.
So how did you feel, Kaylee, as fresh eyes about that versus the old
definitely
style?
That structure, I like as we were getting into the groove of like assembling the party and then like figuring out what do we got to do. I'm like, it makes so much fucking sense why this one has been adapted 3 times now, because it is the anime formula. It is the adventure television series formula of just, we have our like continuity of the characters and what they do. We know we're gonna have to like chip away through all of these things because the bad guy has an army and we have this many episodes to do it in. Monster of the week. There we go. Perfect. And rinse and repeat and do it again until we have to like mark that this is the halfway point of the season or something like that.
Right.
Don't forget about like fight a guy. He goes, nobody's ever beaten this power before, and Jotaro's just like, fucking bet. And then it turns into, impossible! Nobody's ever beaten my power! We're friends now. We're friends.
No,
deal
like,
with
exactly.
it. I'm coming with you.
It is so anime. That I was like, okay, yeah, all right. Maybe to me, like, slightly stale in that way of just the like, this is a very predictable formula in that regard. But again, the exciting thing, because it's JoJo's, is that even if you know the formula, you don't know what you're going to be watching as it happens.
There's some wild shit that goes on. Like, you're never quite ready for... Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm like, I know, again, every episode of this show has a meme in it. And sometimes more than one. But, like, when you have the, like, oh, that seems like there's a stand who's running around pretending to be other people. Oh, I wonder how we figure them out. And then there's fucking, quote, in quotations, Kakyoin with a goddamn cherry going, like, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah,
Like
there's a lot of just
everything that you expect to happen. Yeah, like everything you expect to happen through the sort of like practicality of the structure and the familiarity of that formula. You're like, for as much of that as there is, you don't know what you're going to be getting to get you from point A to point B, if that makes sense.
What are some of the more wild moments that stand out to you?
Polnareff getting turned into a child.
It does get turned into a child. They all
Baby
get turned into
Polnareff
children.
episode was fucking weird, just as like for how long they kept going with it.
Yeah.
That was a time.
Yeah.
Oh God. I'm trying not to like jump to sort of the stuff at the end, which has become like its own sort of like iconographic moments of like anime and JoJo's. Like the guy that does the frickin' GeoGuessr going, this I know where this is because of JoJo. I'm like, my dude, you know this iconography like the back of your hand.
Is that the? I'm obsessed with like part 3's English, where like the bad direct English stuff like gets me so good in this.
Yeah.
Just like
listener, do yourself a favor and look up one of those compilations on YouTube.
Oh, that's a baseball. Mega Jaggers. Go ahead,
Jaggers.
Mr. Joester.
But yeah, no, like exactly the English stuff, like that's just the things that they choose to keep in that sort of place of like, no, we're not gonna like. One, we're going to keep it as English in the Japanese script, and then when we do the English dub, we're gonna just like not change it. Like we're still keeping that, and so it's like suddenly doubly weird in and out of context.
It feels like a good version of when some jerk on YouTube like puts random Japanese words into his made English dub of his favorite obscure anime to make it sound like more official. It feels like the opposite of that and really fucking funny.
No, and then the like what you were saying earlier, like the stand that just makes you play video games. Like there are some things that really built up a nice tension between villain and heroes of like, oh, okay, what kind of antagonist do we have? Because some of them are more like brash and really out there, and then some of them like the brothers, the gambling brothers. I'm just like, oh shit, like these are the poker episode is actually really stressful. The tension that builds between those characters is really good. And then you have these moments of just, this is absolutely ridiculous how we got to the resolution here.
Yeah, this is the episode where we're on an abandoned ship. Actually, the ship is the stand of an orangutan.
Yeah, the orangutan!
Also, that orangutan wants to have sex with a 12-year-old.
Yes, I forgot that's the beginning of this season. Good lord.
Yeah, that's how the show starts.
Yeah, no,
pretty
like
much,
there is...
As soon as they start
That's like episode 4.
Yeah. It's like the 4th or 5th episode. So like really early on, you already know that like, well, at this point, anything is on the table, whether I like it or not. And just sort of really tries to like throw you into that, which I appreciate, like as early as possible, so that within the first 6 episodes, you already feel like you've jumped the shark. There's nowhere else for you to jump. But you still keep finding more sharks to jump at some point or another over the course of the show. And either you like it or you hate it. And I think that's sort of the beauty of this arc especially, is that like, again, like because there's a familiar structure of storytelling, that the flavor of it, the seasoning is the constant shark jumping in that sense, as far as how we get taken to the next levels of things. So, and if that's not your cup of tea, then Araki does a good job of setting it up in this way by like starting things out in such a bizarre way already. Like, if you can't vibe with this now, it's gonna be really hard for you to continue with it. So like, fair warning.
The ride only gets worse.
Yeah.
I feel like this is such a unique season of the show as compared to the rest, because for how often do they actually hear about Dio throughout the breadth of the story? Like, how often do we get, like, you know, a true clue that leads us to the boy, like, because it's kind of more focused on the adventures of the individual, like, whether that's one episode or 2 episodes, versus so many other episodes of the show have a very clear goal, maybe not immediately, but usually from like episode 3 or 4 through the end of the season. And I feel like this one is almost kind of like supernatural or something like that in the way it paces itself, because it's not until Dio really returns that things get kicked into fucking high gear.
Maximum overdrive.
Yeah.
Maximum overroad roller.
Yeah.
I knew I should have gotten the turbo.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the main appeals to JoJo's Part 3. So much so that the rest of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure follows the same formula going forward. You usually have one episode, here's the location, we'll hang out with the bros for a little bit. Yeah. Okay, the stand user is showing up and they're doing this crazy stuff and we don't really understand how their power works. We go to the next episode, we've dissect their power. Now we figure out how to beat it, or we win, right? It's usually about 2 episodes.
Punch really good and win.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Or have like a really long finger out of nowhere, or like like suck in all the wind out of nowhere. Just Star Platinum, get angry, do something.
I think that
anyway.
That is sort of the weird thing about it, is that, like, while some of these characters have really exciting, like, unique stand abilities sort of things that like Kakyoin like really calculates, like, how can I maximize the use of like Emerald Splash and whatever I can use to get my advantage with, and like some of these folks like have really clever ways of like making their stands, like optimizing their stands power. And I mean, not that Jotaro doesn't, like, he figures out like I can have my stand hold my heart so it looks like I've stopped breathing, which is horrifying, but exciting.
You can do that? Why can you do that?
Right? But then more often than not, he figures it out, like, mentally. He does the it does the sort of monster of the week, like the clue gathering of like, how do I beat this thing? And so
I just want Scooby-Doo Jojo now?
Like, there's that exciting, like, putting the pieces together that he does, and it's, like, satisfying to see the, like, figure it out and how do we beat it. But I think that's why this one kind of frustrates me a little bit, in that sort of, like, we're doing exciting things and then we're doing really generic, predictable things, because it ultimately ends in just, ora, I punch good.
Yeah. I think this is where I could jump in and we can start talking about, or we already have started talking about, the weaknesses of Part 3. Yeah. I personally don't like Part 3.
It's
long. Of all the JoJo's.
Yeah, it is long.
Of all the JoJo's that I've consumed, it's my least favorite.
Oh, no.
I've eaten every single JoJo.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, of all. So I've watched / read parts 1 through 7. And at least half of Part 8. But Part 3 is definitely the worst, in my opinion. Because it's twofold, right? A is, very early on in the series, we established the quote unquote ticking clock of the inciting incident is Dio, after being sealed underwater for 100 years after the events. Yeah, after the events of Part 1, Dio was successful in taking Jonathan's body, but had to seal himself, and ended up in the ocean. Some guys fish him up. Dio comes out and doing his vampire shit, having sex with women in Egypt, minding his own business. This lady comes and hits him with an arrow that gives him his stand ability. the stand ability then awakens the abilities of every Joestar. Not really for some reason. And while Joseph and Jotaro get theirs, and those manifest into Hermit Purple and Star Platinum respectively, Holly Joestar, Jotaro's mother, just isn't cool enough, and it starts to kill her.
She's not strong enough. It's killing her.
Right. And that's the quote unquote ticking clock of the series, right?
Yeah.
We have to run to Egypt, punch Dio in the face and kill him, or else Jotaro's mom will die from not cool enough sickness if we don't do it on time.
Mom, you're such a fucking lame bitch. Look at you go.
And a big
you
issue
suck.
is we spend so much time with these villains of the day that it doesn't feel like there's a ticking clock. And
True.
And the idea of after a very short while, especially once we get to the end, it stops being about Jotaro trying to save his mom. He's just like, I have to go kill Dio and then kick his ass. And then it's, I have to go fight Dio and kick his ass because he killed my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And he's making your mom sick too, right?
Oh, fuck that
Whatever.
bitch. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly, right. So that's just like, it feels like there's stakes episode 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then those stakes are gone, and they're just going to Egypt to beat up a gay vampire.
All I'm thinking is just like, yeah, my mom wasn't cool enough for a stand. You know who else she wasn't cool enough for? My dad.
Sad music plays. But no, my second issue is Jotaro himself.
He's a dick.
Well, not only, we're making jokes about him being a dick, but I think the real issue is, I've heard it described as the Starfinger problem. So Jotaro, like we said earlier, right? Every stand has like conditions that they either have to fulfill or have to be met for them to use their ability, right? It's, I have to hit you with a needle and then you're infected, or we have to play rock, paper, scissors. And if you lose, this is all shit that's real, by the way.
No, I don't think any of these have been any exaggerations. Like, these are the stands.
And sometimes stands are just a homie that give you good advice, you know?
Sometimes your stand is just your comic book that just makes drawings about what's gonna happen.
It tells the future, kind of.
Yeah.
But
and you have a
Jotaro,
conversation with the Iraqi insert character who's sightseeing in Egypt on a research trip to make Jojo'S, which I absolutely love that joke. Before I forget that was in the show, I fucking love that moment so much. Anyways.
Yeah, but the problem with Jotaro is his stand doesn't follow any rules or logic. Not in that he doesn't have like signature abilities, right? His stand, its whole deal is it's very precise and it works at close range, right?
Yep.
So like it's able to protect him, it's able to punch real good, but only in his general vicinity. But every time there's an issue where Jojo himself is the main hero, he just develops an ability that overcomes everything and he just gets to win again, right? The aforementioned, but we mentioned the incident where he just like his stand just sucks up all the air in a room and it beats the bad guy
out of nowhere,
and he could just do that. The ability he uses, which first aggravated this, is an ability called Starfinger, where this guy who's supposed to be like, I work up close range, has this one attack where his stand's fingers extend and pierce a dude in the forehead, and that's how they win. And then he never does that again. He makes it up on the spot, and it never happens again. It's even so aggravated that when we get to the end, right, and we're fighting Dio, whose stand's main ability is that he can stop time.
and it's a big secret reveal that takes several episodes.
It is really cool. And then they start playing with it in the opening credits. Right. It's really fucking cool.
Oh, it's the fucking tits.
It's dope as hell.
Yeah.
It's dope as hell. But, you know, everybody's supposed to have their own unique stand power. Yeah. Araki's like, oh shit, I made Dio too powerful because he could stop time. Actually, him and Jotaro have the same power. They have the same stand. And it's like, but that's not how the rules work.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be able to do that because that's Dio's
That was
thing.
one of those moments where it's like, and the curtain is lifting a little bit. There's the anime-ness under the JoJo.
After about 12 minutes, Jotaro is then better than Dio at Dio's whole thing.
That he's probably studied for. Here's the frustrating thing.
He finds out he could do it on the spot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just from being mad enough. And then Dio's like, look at me. I'm fighting you and evolving. Now I can stop time for 9 seconds. And Jotaro's like, LOL, I could stop it for 30. Get fucked, loser. I just found out I could do this today.
Okay, he finds out he can do it for 3 seconds. He just times it really well after Dio does it.
He can stop time longer than Dio near the end. That's why that's one of the reasons why Road Roller doesn't kill him.
Yeah. The thing about Jotaro that it's just like, why would you do this, is you find out that you have access to, you know, incredible power, and you can use this mirrored to your enemy, and that's what you use to help defeat him. Dio probably practiced that shit for like decades in the desert. Fucking Jotaro just like comes around and wins, gets the most incredible power in the world, says, fuck that, I'm gonna go do a marine biology degree instead. This is mild spoilers for part 4, Kaylee. He stops practicing his fucking incredible power so that he can go study starfish. Yep.
Yeah. It's weird. It's more of an excuse. Because again, Jotaro is literally invincible.
Yep.
So
there's a joke here somewhere between me having worked at an aquarium and my own father having a master's in marine biology, but I don't know where the joke is.
Yeah, Ian, your fiance Ian used to be able to stop time before he had to dedicate himself to a PhD as well.
No, this is what grad school does to you kids. It takes away your stand practice.
And your money.
Damn.
Well, I think what I'd like to say about Jotaro is that he is suffering from the Roman Reigns, John Cena problem just bum Joda, row. He basically he can't lose. We've built him up to a point in which it's impossible for him to lose, because either he's going to figure out what to do, or inexplicably the universe will change around him to allow him to win, such as when Roman Reigns was defending a title against Finn Balor, and one of the ring just destroyed itself so that Finn Balor couldn't win. Like, the universe will change itself to adapt to the boy.
And I think that even Araki notices that while he's writing, because more often than not, the protagonist is Polnareff.
Yeah.
Explain
if you think about a lot of the episodes, they're very much so centered around Jean-Claude Polnareff, this goofy Frenchman who doesn't really know what he's doing, who's just trying to make it.
Can't find a decent bathroom anywhere.
Can't find a goddamn toilet anywhere.
I'm only laughing because you said Jean-Claude Polnareff instead of Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre.
And I'm thinking of Jean-Claude Van Damme in JoJo.
Jean-Claude Van Polnareff.
Jean-Claude Van Polnareff.
Jean-Claude Van Damme's stand allows, it summons 2 giant, like, tractor trailer trucks that he does a split between, and he runs over people with the 18 wheelers.
It just forces you to do a split, and you're really uncomfortable.
My stand, Street Fighter the movie.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the reasons, like, for me, I'm not as interested in Jotaro as a character, is because Kakyoin and Polnareff are the ones that are more protagonist than Jotaro, because they're the ones that are changing more over the course of the story.
Yeah, Kakyoin's entire stand changes abilities. Like, 1-to-1, when he shows up, his stand takes over people, and then later it's just he shoots fucking emeralds at folks.
Yeah.
It's like...
just chaos emeralds up. I think Jotaro works so much better as a side character, which we get to see him in, part 4 as well as like later parts down the line. Like, I don't think it's much a spoiler to say that Jotaro doesn't like outright die because he's the writer's favorite. He's not going to.
Right.
Like,
when he's able to, he comes back.
Yeah. He works great as a mentor and like a sidekick versus like the main character. Like, you need your main character to have some weaknesses and flaws.
When he's fucking looking down on the next JoJo and being like, yara, kid, this is how you do it. You know what I mean?
Hey, dumbass, just do it.
And talking about this sort of like cycle of mentors and like thinking like, obviously the first one establishes the archetypes that pop up over the course of the show in some form or fashion. I think Jotaro as a mentor makes much more sense with somebody like Lisa, where they can like definitely like give you a run for your money, but they are interested in like making sure you get from point A to point B, hopefully in one piece, but sort of not really giving away their hand while doing that. Whereas Joseph is a very different kind of mentor because this man can't not be the center of attention.
Right.
Which is very entertaining when he kind of gets himself into shit or like has to try to take the reins back and is prevented from doing so.
Right.
But like seeing how now as we add sort of like we've started with our main like primary colors and secondary colors from the first season from Phantom Blood, and now we're really playing with like, well, what kind of tone is this archetype now if it's this person instead, and seeing how it continues to flesh out through the different generations and then different circumstances of who is having to play what role and for what other character. And suddenly, like, what does change, what stays the same, like, how do things evolve in that way in something that is so constantly focused on this family through the generations? What will they do next?
Mm-hmm. And there's also the interesting aspect of, again, talking about the relationship between Joseph and Jotaro.
Old man.
Is that, old man Joseph, is that this is the first time we see, first and not last time we see in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the last protagonist guiding, and Joseph's own weird way, guiding the new protagonist.
Family.
Right? Yeah, getting in his own shenanigans, but also helping out and kind of sort of showing the new guy the way when Jotaro needs it. He's Superman, so he usually doesn't, but... And again, we'll see that a lot more in the next part, I think.
Okay, right before I start waxing poetic about part 4 and the way that I do, I will say this. Although we rag on a lot of the elements of part 3, I do think the finale overall of part 3 might be the strongest finale of the entire series. For like,
I agree.
As iconic as Jotaro versus Dio, the whole battle really is, and it lasts like an episode and a half of like their one-on-one
shit out of
fights.
you without getting closer.
Ho ho! Then come as close as you like.
Honestly, like, part 3, even if it's not, like, the best, I think part 3 deserves to be in a top spot just for all the meme fodder it has produced over the years. God! It's so good! Like, seriously, like, yeah, exactly. The finale setup in the last 3 episodes is really outstanding, I think. I mean, like, it feels like a lot of other, I mean, again, not like, there are some animes that don't stick their finales. And this one is sort of like similar feeling of the ones that do. So it's already like, okay, cool, step in the right direction. Because there's really great moments of tension, those like last desperate pushes for something in the darkest hour sort of moment, and then the final what does our hero have to do to overcome the villain? And I mean, despite the sort of going, oh, I can also just stop time. Pretty much everything up until that point is a very exciting, like, oh shit, how is he gonna get out of this? Like, what can you do? Like, building up that tension is really, really solid.
The first time Dio's got the stop sign and he's about to cut off one of their heads with a stop sign, my butthole was like clenched as hard as it could possibly be. I was just like, oh fuck, he's gonna do it. Oh shit. Oh no. He's gonna get him with the public stop sign. Oh no. I didn't know you could do that. And shout out to his fucking green lipstick. But then at the same time, while delivering
all of that, still giving us some absolutely iconic images, lines, and sound effects in anime and in meme history.
The world! I've said that one like 20 times on this podcast. Like, I love The World.
You said it like 20 times today.
Yeah, my favorite meme from all JoJo is when somebody did a fake Spanish dub and they put a sombrero and a mustache on Dio, and he just goes, El Mundo! And it turns to mariachi music. Oh, God. The one thing that I will especially give Part 3 credit for, and I think truly improves the series moving forward, is the establishment of the beatdown. It's something we had seen snippets of early on with like Sunlight I'm on Overdrive and all those iconic earlier moments, but the like 4 or 5 page aura, as it was known, when Jotaro's beating down Steely Dan, or when he's going full out at the end on Dio, like, that is the most cliche anime but fucking rad, awesome feeling archetypes of like plot that they do, and they always nail the music just perfectly.
Oh, God.
It feels badass, and I'm so glad that we got it really established in this arc so that they could do it later and just be like, fuck yeah, it's beatdown time.
We got him now.
David Production did an amazing job, obviously, with this one as well.
As per usual.
Which, like, is a lot riding on this. Yeah, like having had it done before, and then this is also one where any of the video game adaptations like draw a lot of inspiration from character movesets and things like that, from my understanding, because that's always something that I feel like DeviantArt and other places on the internet were plagued with, was like pixel sprite Dio with a road roller. Like, there was a lot of iconic stuff that came out of the fighting games that was inspired from this.
That's from
so then to make it feel
from Jojo's fighting game,
yeah. So then to have to be tasked with, all right, we're doing it again, but we really gotta, like, how do we nail this as just a watching experience? Like, you're not a participant playing a game in this. How do we, like, really nail this adrenaline rush, but not make it just like ridiculously overbearing fighting, but still capturing like the most satisfying feeling of exactly that beat down sequence? Like, how do you make all of those things work? And I think again, other than just the like plot hole Mary Sue-ish, I can do this now, fuck off moments, like it holds pretty well.
I think the thing I appreciate most about the beatdown is a similar thing that I've watched and read about recently with the kung fu genre and how it's done better in like Asian film studios like Hong Kong versus American, because you get to see the impact. They don't just like cut away from something. You get to see the impact of fists crashing. You get to hear all of the ADR and all of the like very intricate sounds that they've created for this. You get to see somebody's face just turn to absolute goo, and like they always get launched like across the room after. It's like that good Jackie Chan style beatdown stuff. Just outstanding. Love it. No notes.
No notes. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Are we moving towards our final thoughts here, Bo?
Yeah. Feed me. What are your final thoughts?
It's pretty. I mean, the worst JoJo is still better than most anime. That's what it comes down to. But my final thought is actually a question. If you guys had a stand and you had to name it after a song that would obviously cause copyright problems, but who gives a shit? What would your stand be, and what would its power be?
Feel Good Inc.
Feel Good Inc. And what's the power?
Feel Good Inc.
What's the power of Feel Good Inc?
I get to stop time and do whatever I want there. I did it. I am the world. I am Dio.
Hell yeah.
I am Jotaro.
I've decided this one for a while. My stand would be Mr. Brightside.
There it is.
And I would use my power to summon all the white people in a general vicinity to come dance and do my bidding.
And just get them hype as hell.
Just millions of British men swim across the ocean to become my army.
Just a moss for like 3 minutes.
Kaylee, what's your stand?
I part of me is like, man, I haven't thought of a meme song to like set on, but I think it's because my playlist has been focused in a different way because I'm doing like, how do I get into character mind for a show that I'm in right now? It would be some kind of, I think, like water nymph, sort of foresty inspired stand, named, I think, Florence, the machine, Florence the machine. Yes.
Florence the machine.
Yeah. I part of me is like, I don't think it's like a super like wanna be a combat stand, but certainly could like use elemental kind of like control of water or something.
This gives you a refreshing cup of water.
Yeah, like even if it's not like
man,
full
stay
like
hydrated.
Even if it's not full blood bending, maybe like most annoying thing it could do would be just like making you cry nonstop, you know?
Ooh. My stand, Florence and the Machine, makes you too hydrated, and now you have to get up to pee in the middle of the night.
Florence, what kind of man?
The dog days are
I was like
over,
immediately
Jotaro.
thinking dog days. I was like, but what?
Dog days, and then you just start crying.
Yeah, like that's the vibe. That's it. Looks pretty.
You just get,
looks
your
pretty.
enemies just get on the ground.
Like
they just get on the ground and they can't function.
Right. it looks pretty. It sounds kind of cool, at least, like decent, but not like super powerful. Probably just makes you cry a whole bunch, and like that's makes you feel really sad for like 2 days straight.
Yeah. Depression, the ability.
Man, that's even more depressing than Mr. Brightside's lyrics.
And she's also a crab.
And she's also a crab.
All right, I'm back into it.
She's also a crab.
And she's also a crab.
And on that note,
my question still stands. Audience, which JoJo's character would you take on a date to Applebee's?
Audience, follow us on the TikToks. And we don't have a TikTok.
Not yet. We could.
Follow Kaylee on the TikToks at Ginger Menace. And follow us on the Twitters at LibArtistPod.
Yeah, LibArtistPod.
At LibArtistPod. And thank you for enjoying this episode of the Liberal Artist Podcast. Join us next time where we just cry.
Or have a stand battle.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Florence the Machine!
Peace.
The Liberal Artists Podcast premieres every other Thursday on your favorite podcasting platform. The show is hosted by Bodhi Opapula, Kaylee Horowitz, and Andy Gibson. You can find the show at LibArtistsPod on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks to Whitehot for performing the theme song Reflect, which can be found on freebeats.io. Now, I'm off to go exploring, and maybe, just maybe, I'll find a sheep that I can call my own. Good day.
What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, you know what the benefit truly is going to be of later doing Looking Ahead Part 5?
Okay.
Is that we can all practice doing the torture dance and we can post that.
I don't.
Oh, our choreography is going to be great.